I recently spent an afternoon watching a 4-part Netflix series on the Bernie Madoff scandal. The series was about 4 hours in length. Despite being a documentary, the program used the customary no-name actors, visuals and music to dramatize the subject matter. The use of actors with exaggerated facial expressions was a turnoff, but I soldiered on. I had some first-hand knowledge of the story, having been in negotiations with Fairfield Greenwich, one of Madoff's feeder funds often mentioned in the documentary. A feeder fund is a business that acts as a middleman between investors and fund managers. The feeder fund receives part of the fee in exchange for finding investors and doing due diligence on the various funds. The company I was with had been struggling for years and had already weathered an embarrassing situation where we had partnered with a US firm to manage our foreign equity component. We would market their products in Canada. Soon after formalizing the partnership, the firm got into a major scandal. If that was not bad enough, the firm's previously solid performance had crumbled. The last thing we needed was another blow-up. As I said, my firm was, in my opinion, in an existential crisis. Most of my partners at the management level were in denial or looking for fall guys to blame to increase their power. They happily paid out any profits in the form of dividends for their own short-term benefit. It gives me no pleasure that the proof that my concerns were valid is the fact that the firm no longer exists. It was eventually bought out by a larger firm. I understood the alternative asset and hedge fund space pretty well, certainly more than my partners who could not tell an alternative asset from an alternative lifestyle. I sold my CEO on the idea of partnering with a funds of funds manager, since that was the direction I saw the market going in. A fund of fund manager is a firm that puts a group of high-performing hedge and alternative funds together and packages them. Hopefully low correlations would reduce risk and improve the return/risk profile for our investors. I did feel that the costs to investors were too high, but that was what investors wanted and there were good investment reasons to do so, especially if I could negotiate a lower fee. I felt a time constraint, since even before mid-2007, I began to worry that we were headed for a serious bear market where index-based equity strategies would prove disastrous. This is not hindsight, nor was I unique. Many, albeit a minority, of market watchers were concerned. The yield curve had inverted, US home prices were collapsing, and the infamous subprime mortgage industry was clearly in trouble. I ended up speaking and eventually negotiating with Fairfield Greenwich, a firm that was a feeder fund, in order to design a specific fund of fund for our investors. Fairfield Greenwich was a highly respected firm. They were also working with another, even more highly respected firm to monitor portfolio risk. Curiously, Fairfield Greenwich was frequently vilified in the Netflix special, yet the other firm that was supposed to watch the watchers was not mentioned. In fact, it was not even mentioned that there was another firm that was supposed to help monitor these things. The Netflix series even had people lamenting the fact that officials at Fairfield Greenwich did not go to jail like Madoff, despite being a victim of the scam themselves. It is always like this. When market bubbles pop, the public gets more indignant about financial scandals and goes on a tirade demanding people go to prison whether or not they committed an actual crime. Bluntly, I found the people I met at Fairfield Greenwich to be competent and honest and have no reason to change that view. If I claimed that I smelled a rat, I would be disingenuous. The people there paid a heavy price, which was largely ignored by Netflix. Nor did the documentary explore any relationship between Madoff and the Democratic Party. Given Madoff's profile in the New York Jewish community and his contributions to the party, it does seem troubling that the SEC seemed to ignore years of people warning the regulator about him. After watching the series, it became apparent that Madoff would have been difficult to catch. Much of the investment business is built on trust, and in the vast majority of cases, trust works. Everyone, from portfolio managers to traders, to clerks to accountant, watch each other. Also, hedge fund managers are understandably secretive about their activities to prevent their strategies from being copied or their trades being front-run. Furthermore, clients are not crazy about too many people knowing their business. Should Fairfield Greenwich have caught Madoff? Maybe, but no one else did. Madoff was smart, and white-collar criminals are hard to catch. The Security and Exchange Commission, who are responsible for regulatory oversight, never bothered to verify who Madoff traded with. Buys and sells have a broker who facilitates the trades, and there is always a paper trail. Interestingly, the Netflix series simultaneously blamed the SEC, as people had warned them about Madoff for years, and also implied there should be more regulation, which is logically inconsistent. This is ridiculous and so typical of statists. The regulators were asleep, so let's give them more power and money. The fact is, documentaries are as biased as their writers and producers. The real story is always more complex and differs depending on your point of view. At the end of the day, my financial detective skills, if I have any, did not save us. It was just the good old-fashioned risk policies, diversification and not investing in something you don't understand, and obviously some luck. My point in all this is people in hindsight are always geniuses. Invariably, after every scandal, people claim they knew the guy was a crook all along. That is self-deception. Being a victim of a financial fraud is like getting mugged. You can take the same street home every day for many years safely. Then one day, your luck could be up and you can end up robbed and lay in the gutter bleeding thinking what the hell just happened.